Hello Patreon supporters, I'm pretty excited about this one. I'm actually editing this pretty much in real time because I'm actually doing it currently and debriefing while cutting. This is the Harvard, it's the same as the T6, the gateway to warbirds, and I'm training to solo this thing. So basically for this training I did not have a crew with me, I did not want any distractions. So this first part is going to be the real-time startup procedures, and then we've got a cockpit briefing that we did shoot with the crew, but I'll explain that a bit later.
Alright, this one rolling? Yeah. Alright. No more thinking about that. Here we go.
Can you just turn up the intercom just slightly?
Check 1 2, check.
Alright, fuel is on left. Yeah, we got 30, 30, 32. Yeah, so left is low. Alright, so pitch is coarse. Mixture is rich. Here it comes back. Throttle is cracked. Carpet is cold.
Take the throttle back about a 1/4 inch.
Okay.
Otherwise, so here's the scenario on startup. If it backfires, you have too much throttle. If it sits there loping for a long period of time, you don't have enough.
Alright, so the prime, I need to wobble, pump some pressure.
So you got the primer out, and now wobble it full. It'll take about 5 strokes. Slow down with the wobble pump. So there's no advantage to going really fast with the wobble pump.
Okay.
That's perfectly fine right there.
So now give it a shot?
Yeah, give it a shot. Does it feel full?
Yep.
So you want it just about that much 6 times.
And I can leave the wobble pump wherever?
Yep, just all the way forward as a
Lock the
general.
primer. Mags are going on both. Alright, so we already have the master and battery on. All clear!
Yeah.
Energize.
Pull the stick back and hold it back at this point. You got your feet on the brakes?
Yep.
So we'll spool up until you don't hear a pitch change. Roughly 10 to 12 seconds.
Contact!
Very nice.
A little bit less power.
No, you're okay. Throw the prop full flying. And we'll bring the power up a little. Just a touch, just so nice and slow.
Where do you want it? It's over, it's 22 inches now.
Yeah, it's okay, don't worry about that. It's going to come down.
Go ahead, 1,000 RPM.
800,
on departure
900
rate, turn
good.
out.
How's that feel?
Pretty awesome. Alright, so control check. And flaps are coming up, you're guarding the gear.
Yeah.
So I had to share that. When I got this scene cut, it was super awesome. It's a lot of flying that I'm getting put together for the public episode that's coming really soon. Meantime, here's a cockpit briefing that we shot with Jason Miller from the Finer Points while he was out here in town.
Oh man, this is amazing. I mean, everything's just military quality. That's not something I'm used to.
Everything's robust.
Everything's robust. Yeah, I mean, on my eyes, I just can't stop looking at this UHF radio.
Which is funny because that's entirely decommissioned. It's strictly there just
so cool.
for looks, right?
Yeah, is, you know?
I cannot brief you on a single thing about that.
Oh,
like,
good.
Put it on the H or the L. Like, it has a working VOR and it has one comm radio standard. You'll notice like the gauge layout's not what you're used to at all.
No, non-standard. That's why I thought it was funny they put an attitude indicator in, but no heading indicator, just your mag compass.
Yeah, so it's a DG. That's a DG.
This is a DG?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just oriented like a compass. So
yeah.
here's your compass.
That's your
Got it.
compass.
Okay,
this is your DG.
Perfect. Thanks.
So it's a sort of standard 6-pack.
I guess it is right here.
It's, it's just offset, right? Because the airspeed's way over here, and then this is kind of generic, I think. Like that's standard. This is a decommissioned. So here's your old this is your directional compass. So hydraulic pressure, suction, standard stuff. Mags. This kind of like mag setup from back in the day is very much like a warbird standard for a lot of manufacturers. It just kind of looks the same everywhere.
Oh, that's cool.
Got your standard G meter, which push to reset. The clock works. It's a wind up.
Nice. So the airplane looks legal for IFR then. Like I mean, if you got all checks done and everything, it's got the right
don't you need an
instrumentation.
additional instrument? I've got just VOR. I thought you needed 2 directional. Steve, aren't you?
Not in the States.
Steve, how about that IFR, bud?
In the States, you don't.
Oh, okay. Well, I think here you need 2 directional instruments other than a DG and a compass. So you'll notice that manifold pressure is above ambient, right? So the red line's 36 inches. It's supercharged at a 10-to-1 ratio. It's a Pratt & Whitney Wasp 1340. It makes 600 horsepower at what I call US power settings. So in the US, 36 inches every takeoff. That's standard. In Canada, 32 inches. The Canadian military standardized on using 32 inches unless more was required. And there's very few scenarios where 32 inches isn't going to cut it, honestly, but 36 does get you off the ground quite a bit faster. The only way I can describe 36 inches is it's almost as if the airplane's light on fuel, it's as if it's being towed. Like you just feel like you're being pulled on a string from the prop. Like it's that much power, which is why it has such funky ass stall characteristics, honestly. Because if it's under power and you really slow it down and you aggravate the stall, it spins with the, like it just spins with the rotation.
And then to recover from that, you just pull the power out and do what's necessary.
This is a normal stall recovery, but it's always weird every time.
Is this the same size stick that was in the Spitfire? Was it really this big and robust?
I believe so. Wow. Yeah, I've never been in a Spitfire personally, but that's the same D-ring style. But they had a hydraulic brake on the control column. This is just standard toe brakes, which are hydraulic, but not assisted hydraulic.
Got it.
Tri-gauges are a military thing too, you may not have seen. So you got oil temperature, oil pressure, fuel pressure. So standard, and then cylinder head temperature.
Carb heat,
carb air temperature and free air temperature is like the sweetest little bonus gauge. I love it.
That'll tell you about carb ice every time, right?
It does get carb ice. I've had it a couple of times. Both cases were like 50-degree Fahrenheit temperatures outside and, you know, almost ground fog, like you're 50-50 on the temperature dew point. And then
here's the
standard
heat.
Carb heat, like that's just like out of a Stearman, exactly the same layout.
Right.
It's got a generator, it doesn't have a voltmeter, but it does have an amp meter to indicate charge. So it's not an alternator, it's like the old school generator style. And then of course, if you can get a shot of the T-handle in the corner, it's
for fires.
So the backwards mixture, so that's fully lean, this is fully rich. And then it's locked out with the, so you have to push a detent.
Is there any logic to making it opposite the throttle?
British do the same thing in the chippies. They're full rich all the way. And I think maybe the logic has something to do with the fact that when you go, you know, to your mixture and then you're slowing down, it hooks it in and you can't mess it up.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's locked out. The prop is, I believe, pretty standard. In is fine and out is coarse, so that's like any other airplane. All this down here, so it does have 2-axis trim. It's got elevator on the outside, rudder on the middle.
That's how you actuate it? Just remove the wheel?
And they're smooth, really smooth. This is an interesting thing. So it has a mechanical fuel pump, but it also has doesn't have any backup other than this manual wobble pump. So you get the camera on the fuel tri-gauge. So now I'm wobbling fuel in.
Interesting. And when would you need to do that?
If you had a mechanical pump failure in flight. So
you
need
have to do that the whole time? Like,
yeah, I'd be like, Jason, get us home, man. And you just keep 3 pounds of pressure on, just wobble our way home.
Holy cow.
That's what's called wobbling your way home. It's got a standard primer, which we'll go over later, but that's twist and unlock. The control locks are interesting because you can't tow the airplane without the control lock engaged. It's fully, so if you reach down and squeeze that, squeeze that and flick it forward, all the way forward. There you go. So now your controls are free.
Oh, that's great.
When it's in control lock, it's all the way forward. And to unlock the tail wheel, it's all the way forward on the controls, which is a really awkward thing, right? Because you're usually going to swivel the airplane. So you're checking forward and throttling up at the same time, which just feels
counterintuitive.
Yeah, completely. But the airplane's very heavy, so
the tail doesn't come up. So, I mean, straight away, I think when I'm in the left seat of most airplanes, I got my hand on the yoke and my right hand on the power.
I think universally, military-wise, it's the opposite. This is a military standard. So the gear control is here. This is down on detent. You never touch that on the ground. You just make sure it's all the way down in the detent because there's no squat switch or any safety.
Wow.
So right now, the flaps are down, indicated by the finger at 45 degrees. So go ahead and put the flap into the up. So slam it up, and I mean slam it up.
Yeah.
So now you're in up. Yeah. Now, we don't have any hydraulic pressure, but you can pull that stick all the way up and twist it. Just pull it up, now twist it.
Like that?
Now let it go.
Okay.
So now it's up. Now just pump it and watch the flaps come up on the fingers.
Right here.
Yeah, so just keep pumping. You'll see hydraulic pressure come on once you get to the end.
Make sure I know where I'm looking for that here.
Yep, just keep going until it's all the way up and then watch the pressure build.
Pressure to the green?
And then just leave it all the way. No, you don't need to do that.
Okay.
Just,
then put it stowed?
Lift it and stow it.
Does it come back? Or just stay there?
No, it just stays forward. Doesn't really matter. And then what you'd do is you'd put the flaps into lock before you start up. So lock is in the middle. So basically it's an on-demand flap system. So if you wanted to get 25 degrees on, you'd go down for a second and then into lock for as long as it takes. And they transit really quickly when the engine's running.
And you just watch the gauge.
Yeah, you just watch the gauge. Because you can't see them, they're split underneath the wing, so you're not seeing.
And that's somehow mechanically connected to the flaps.
Yep.
All right, so landing gear horn is optional on some level? What is
No,
that?
it's not optional. So it'll come on if the gear's up and you throttle back to a preset position on the on there. The thing is if you just want it to shut up for that moment, you just hit cutout and then she cuts out. But if you reset the horn again, like if you go throttle back up and throttle back, it's going to come on again.
Got it. So
It
for
is
training.
the best landing gear horn ever.
For cylinder head temps, do you have call flaps or something you use to manage it?
No cylinder head temperature management. We have an oil shutter.
Okay. What does that do?
Closes the oil shutter so that there's no airflow or limited airflow over the oil cooler. So that's how if you wanted to get your oil temperature up quicker in the winter.
Yep.
But cylinder head temperature management, there really isn't any.
Just forward airspeed?
It doesn't really get that hot, honestly. It's a
Yeah, I
big,
noticed the range isn't even that high. I mean,
Oh, you're not even like you won't even see one. You might in the back one reads a little bit higher, but you won't see over 200.
it must just because so much of the engine's in the airflow, huh? Because like I mean, even
I think
on
it's a fairly low compression. Like talking like power per amount of metal up there is really low, like 600 horsepower, 1,340 cubic inches.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
you know, it's not a lot of power, and you're not running anywhere near that power setting.
Okay.
All this stuff is cageable, so you can cage the gyros for aerobatics, pull and twist,
Like that.
all the way around, and it'll come up caged.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. So that's the safe aerobatic running configuration there.
Yeah, and then you can go back to actually not caged.
Yeah. The fuel gauges are cool. They're visible from both cockpits. So if you look straight down, see them. Yeah, you'll be able to see one.
Yeah,
right
35 gallons on that side.
there. That's Imperial, and that's on the ground, so it's actually a
That
little
looks
more.
like. So generator master, the gyros,
Yeah, we
like
just leave that
electric.
on. So pretty much generator master and radio master are the only switches we use on a regular basis.
What's
and
oil
start.
dilute?
That is something that's not used anymore, but what that would do is literally just dump fuel into the oil. So you dilute your oil with avgas.
This looks like a night setup. Radio lights, nav
Yeah, we don't have the
lights.
beacon, so we're not legally capable of night flight. So you can see the starter's a two-way. So you got energize the inertia reel one way and then start the other way. So you'd energize and then you throw the start in. The big difference between the
all
Mark
this is
II and the Mark IV hybrid is the Mark II was a 12 volt and this is a 24. And in 12 volt, you could not direct drive so you had to have the inertia reel all the way going, then start, because it did not have enough current to actually spin the motor. This one you could theoretically go right to start and it will turn this engine, but it's not a good idea. Right. They also had a power push hydraulic system that was weird. This is constant hydraulic, so when you want it, it's there. But in the Mark II, you had a button, so you had a momentary, you build the pressure up with the button, then you did something, and then the pressure would bleed off.
Wow.
Yeah, and it had foot starter, a few other little weird things.
Normal toe brakes.
Normal toe brakes, normal rudders.
I like
You can
these
hit what
rudder
you want.
pedals.
You won't when you feel them on the ground, because right now it's freewheeling, so there's not connected to the tail, but it's like a Stairmaster, honestly.
Yeah,
Like,
so you have to really stand on it to get it to move.
You'll see what I mean when you
Alright,
taxi it around. It's absolutely horrendous how heavy it is.
Jason,
Yes, sir.
how are you feeling about this?
This is amazing. I'm excited to go fly it. I've never been in an airplane this big and this heavy.
Tell me what you're expecting, and then we'll find out what how your expectations were met or not.
My philosophy about airplanes, at least up until this flight, we'll see how it comes out afterwards, is that an airplane's an airplane's an airplane. And even if we have to use super heavy pressures on the rudder, I'm expecting that this is going to fly like an airplane.
It absolutely flies like an airplane. I would not, it's not a standard tail dragger in terms of how it behaves on the ground.
Got it.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely, I'm kind of the same way. Like, it's just an airplane.
It's an airplane. Let's put speed over the wings and see how it moves, right?
Yeah, it's pretty, you'll like it, I think.
So we've got multiple episodes coming soon featuring the Harvard.